Okay, so this video is going to be taking a look at an LCD screen, and if you want to look in the Arduino code examples, it would be this one right here. So this one down on the bottom right here under LCD, it's one, and I just moved the LCD screen so that you can have the wires a lot more clearly, how it's wired up. Just to go over that quickly, the ground is hooked up to ground. You could also hook it up to that ground. The VCC, or voltage in, is hooked up to 5 volts. If you had an LCD screen that ran on 3.3 volts, you'd hook it up to this wire over here, but in this case it runs on 5 volts. These are 2 data pins, so they're not clearly indicated on the board, and sometimes you can use pins 13 and 12, but in this case we're using these 2 pins, and you can see where they're hooked up, and that's basically the send and receive. And when you look at the code, it's a little bit simpler. This particular product is using an Adafruit library, so you could type line 1 in. Be careful to use the number sign and use the proper brackets. If you bring in this example, it actually comes in like that. Line number 3 is setting up a counter, so you could call this whatever you want, but it would have to remain consistent with these 2 other locations of the counter name. We're setting it at 0 initially. This line is essentially taking the library, the name of this LCD, and giving it a value of 0 in case you had more than one of them. That might work, so you could try adding a second one if you want. Because this is a 2-wire program, you could actually set up second ones as well. We're not going to get into that today. So the setup here, if I start to press play, you'll see that we've got Hello World, which is at the default location, which is in row 0 and in the 0 position. And whereas when the counter is displayed, it is using space 0, and it's going to be in the second row. And so we're going to change that just to show you how to move it around. So let's say that I wanted to have it kind of in the middle. So 8 would be sort of close to the middle, and when I played it, it would start counting in the middle. If I wanted it to go faster, I could change the time here. So let's say that I changed it to 200. Sometimes simulators don't actually work that well as far as timing goes, but you can see that it's counting up faster. And let's say that we wanted to increase it by more than 1. Let's say we wanted to count it up by 5. You could see that it should count up by 5 now. Okay. So what I want you to do with this is just play around and see what kind of creative things you can get it to do. I'm going to bring in the example from last day, so hopefully you've done that one first. And you can sort of see that there's a crazy amount of wires going to this screen, and that's because this is a very simple LCD screen, and there's no module on the back of it. If you saw this in real life, you'd compare the 2 and realize that there is a second microcontroller on the back of the other LCD screen that takes all this into consideration and manages it all. If you look at the code is pretty similar. It uses a library. It's not the Adafruit one, but it's a liquid crystal one. It's assigning all these values, and these are based on pin numbers from the Arduino as compared to pins that are labeled with different letters. And that's what these are all, and that's 2 lines of code that will not be necessary in the other one. And then this is kind of the same. The setup is the same. It identifies what type of LCD is running, that it has 16 spaces left to right and 2 rows top to bottom, and we're setting Hello World in the first location, which would be up in the top left hand corner. And then this one is setting the new location. It's setting it down in the second level in the first position, and it's in the second row, which is indicated 1 on our screen. If you got rid of this part, you could use both rows and then you could have more information on there. Now, the unique thing about this particular line is that it's using a command called millis, and it's putting it in brackets. And millis is just a timer that you can set up in your program, and it'll just run super fast, and it'll keep track of a value. And so it's going to go 1/1000th of a second, and so it's going to be really fast, and that's why it's got to be divided by 1,000. Okay, so that's what this program did. I didn't explain it too well last time. It was just a picture, so I can't let it run. Okay, so that's what I want you to do. Is I want you to duplicate this part here. It's already wired for you if you want to grab it from the examples, but you can pull it in yourself, and you can follow this code and maybe play around with it. So maybe change what the text says. You could change the location of the text. You could bring this set cursor, and you could use it before this line so that you could have maybe hello world more in the middle or more over to the right side. You could change whatever you want. So when you hand your assignment in, I want to see different text. I want to see it counting up by different amount. Maybe change the location of the cursor. So those three things would indicate that you kind of have an idea of what this code is doing. Okay, and if you're super brave, maybe try to bring in another LCD and see if you can get it to work. Okay, have fun with that.